Good morning and welcome to the podcast on the role of church in promoting interfaith harmony and social justice for minority communities in South Asia. Perspectives from Cardinal Joseph Coutts, where we delve into the most pressing issues facing our world today. I'm your host Furqan Ahmed. I'm working in the capacity of Senior Research Associate South Asia, Research Institute for Minorities, SARIM, which is dedicated to researching and advocating for the rights and well-being of minority communities in South Asia. In this episode, we turn our focus to South Asia, a region rich in cultural, religious diversity, but also fraught with complex challenges related to minority rights and social justice. Our guest today is Cardinal Joseph Coutts. Thank you so much, sir, for your time. Uh, He's the Metropolitan Archbishop Emeritus of Karachi. Cardinal Coutts has been a prominent advocate for interfaith dialogue and social justice. His work has bridged divides in different religious communities and championed the cause of marginalized groups. Once again, sir, it's a great honor to have you with us today. Your contributions to fostering interfaith harmony and addressing social inequalities are deeply respected. Let's dive into our discussion today. I will ask about uh, uh, your journey, how you get into the position of cardinalship, and like your early education and the struggles or the initiatives that you have taken so far in your entire career. Thank you so much, sir. You can start proceedings.
Yeah, I mean, this is something peculiar or special within the Roman Catholic Church. And it's really largely depends personally on the Pope to choose his cardinals, because then they become his close associates or advisors. I was already, because Karachi at that used to be the capital of Pakistan when Pakistan was created in 1947. So the diocese of the bishop becomes the head. So Karachi was made an archdiocese. And for the bishop, they also, the role of the cardinal is not so, one of our duties is clear. When we have to elect a new pope, whether it is the death of the pope or a resignation for sickness or any other reason, it's only the cardinals who choose the new pope. So that's one of the duties that every cardinal has. Apart from that, it's up to the pope to choose us for any other requirement. Now, you see, the strange thing about the Vatican is it's also a state, a civil state, recognized by the United Nations. So the Pope, although he's a religious and moral leader, yet he's also the head of Vatican City State, which is a small state of, I think, just over 100 acres. And the cardinals already, it has its own internal administrative setup. The Pope can choose cardinals to advise him in various ways. I was already, before I became a cardinal, serving in the Vatican's, we use a different terminology, dicastery. In civil language, you would say the ministry of the Vatican State for interfaith and religious dialogue and harmony. I served my 5 years there, and now I'm just a cardinal. I don't have any other specific responsibility. Other cardinals are there. Some are heading let's say, the financial department of the Vatican, or the education department, or so many other, in civil language, we call ministries of the Catholic Church.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. This was absolutely new for me to learn and understand the process of cardinalship. I've never had I was wondering when I was looking at your profile, when I was looking the work that you've been doing. So it's quite fascinating to have you. It's a great honor to be talking to a person who basically has to go through a profound process. So moving on to the first question of the day. Your Eminence, you have been deeply involved in fostering interfaith dialogue in South Asia, as you just indicated. How do you view the role of church in bridging divides between religious communities, and what specific initiatives you have found to be most effective?
Right. I think I first got to explain, you already a number of times said that I've been involved in interfaith dialogue in South Asia, to be more specific, let's say in Pakistan. because every country, right? It's so about South Asia or even Asia as a whole, that each country is so specific. Pakistan, for example, is officially an Islamic state. It's the Islamic Republic of Pakistan. Secondly, when we talk about the Catholic Church, we are a very small minority. Christians altogether, we are just about 2%. So Catholics would make us just about 1% in a large population of about 230 million people. So what kind of a role can a 1% minority have? I am just giving that as background information. Now, that was the answer to your question when I said, again, as I've not been involved in South Asia, maybe here and there, occasionally to give lectures, but not in South Asia, in other countries, given our relationship with our neighboring countries in South Asia. So if you could take off from there.
Okay, yeah, I can take it out from there. Thank you so much for that. Again, you've been championing social justice and interfaith harmony together. Tell us, in your experience, how do the church address issues of social justice and inequality within the Christian communities of Pakistan, I would say? Can you provide examples of how church has been involved in advocating for the rights and welfare of marginalized groups?
Again, I come back to that point. When you're such a small minority and you talk about the church as if it's some very big organization, which comparatively, given the size of the country and the population, it's not such a big organization. But we do have some important institutions that contribute very much to the development of the country and which involves people of all faiths. And that is our educational institutions. We have many schools, maybe 200 or 300 schools throughout the country. I'm talking now about all the Christian, including the Christian denominations. And our schools have always been open to people of all faiths. We don't make distinctions. We even have some schools, many of our schools, the majority of the students or the pupils in our schools, they are not Christians. Our teaching staff is mixed. We just work together because we are following the curriculum given by the government's education department. We prepare the students for the state examinations and so onwards also in the colleges. So we are not apart from the others in that. In fact, I would proudly say that there are so many people who are not Christians who prefer to come to our schools because of the quality of the education we have been giving in the past and which we find difficult to keep up that level which we at one time had, and we still do have to some extent. So that's how it is. The other thing is also other services, hospitals, for example. Now, here in Karachi, where I am, we had a very famous nun, sister, Dr. Ruth Fau. She was of German origin. She was here as a missionary. The word missionary also is sometimes so misused. A mission doesn't come to just convert others. The first thing is service. As a Christian, you have to serve. And we serve without distinction, as I said, in our schools, yes, or colleges, and then also in our hospitals. Maybe a number of smaller clinics. Another big work which we are doing, I can talk about Karachi only, is a very large home for handicapped children, both physical and mental handicap. It's called Darul Sukoon, the House of Peace. Here again, the children, the inmates, they are far outnumber the Christian inmates. But it is a service we render because that is part of our faith. Because we read in the Bible that Jesus, he went among the people, as it is said very nicely there, doing good. He not only preached to the people and taught them, he also healed the sick. Well, we believe miraculously, he healed many sick people. And that's why the big crowds of people used to follow him, because they said, they initially, being a Jewish environment, we're talking about Palestine 2,000 years ago, they thought he was one more Jewish rabbi. Some people said he was a prophet, and many people started following him. So we follow Jesus in the way how he reached out to the people, mostly the poor who were in need, who followed him because they had needs. They were sick. They had to be healed. They were illiterate. They wanted to know more. So that's what we try to do in very simple language.
Thank you so much. Yeah, indeed, I've seen the services of Christian communities involved in health sector. I've seen them having a tremendous amount of schooling system as well in Karachi, as well as their services to the civil society as well. Darul Sukoon, I've been into that place as well. So that's really commendable, and the services and the work that you do is really appreciated. Uh, Talking about services, you talked about the product services that Christian play. There are some challenges that each community or every minority community face in a majoritarian country. So, what are some of the significant challenges Christian face in Pakistan today, particularly in terms of discrimination and socioeconomic inequalities? How is the church working to overcome those challenges?
Well, the challenge is, I think, the basic challenge for us as Christians in an Islamic state, because the number of people who still think that Pakistan is meant only for Muslims. And I have had many discussions with Muslim friends and others saying we all live in the same place. And Pakistan, the founder of Pakistan, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, was quite clear. I think the thinking at that time was, when we were all one country, that the Muslims would feel safer, they would feel freer living in a country in which the majority would be Muslims. And the Qaid-e-Azam, the great leader as we call him, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, he was very clear about that. In one of his very early speeches, where he said, we are now free, we are independent, in other words, from colonialism. And we are an independent state, Pakistan. And you're free to go to a mosque, to your temple, or any other place of worship. We must all learn to be Pakistanis. Now, unfortunately, that beautiful statement, very idealistic, has not really been put into practice, because there are still many, especially some small leaders here and there, but I would say not well informed or having a narrow concept of Islam. They say, no, Pakistan ka matlab kya? La ilaha illallah. What does it mean to be Pakistani? That you have to be a Muslim. So our problem is to be recognized as Pakistanis, to be recognized as fellow citizens, serving the country, doing what we can, even in the armed forces, not only in education and the medical field, but also in the armed services. And some of our officers have been decorated with for their bravery during the conflicts we have had with other countries, and who have even given their lives. But that is forgotten, and yet we have to keep shouting, almost symbolically shouting, asserting ourselves and saying, look, we are Pakistanis just as much as you are. But I know that there would be many small preachers, Islamic teachers or mullanas who don't really believe that. They still think we are some sort of odd species separately by ourselves. They don't see how we are working together right from the inception of Pakistan. And in fact, one of the early chief justices of the Supreme Court was a highly respected and recognized jurist, the judge of the Supreme Court of Pakistan, as a Christian. And not only as a Christian, we've had other eminent people of the Supreme Court, such as Justice Dorab Patel, who was a Zoroastrian, who we call Parsis. So it's a struggle. It's a struggle. It's not something that I would say it's natural. We've got to remember that what is the level of education in Pakistan? It's around 50%. The government would say, no, it isn't. There's a lot of people who just follow whatever prejudices they have. And there are a lot of, even especially in the rural areas. And remember, much of our population is rural. Where do they get the information from? Maybe from the mosque, Friday preaching, but the internet and other things have increased, and now people have access to all this. But it's a very freely formed, it's no really formal idea there, the ideal that the founder of Pakistan had. It's really influenced by society. And I think that's important to understand the kind of society we live in. High percentage of illiteracy, a lot of prejudice in the sense of, if I'm a Muslim, well, this country is for Muslims. What are the others doing here? Not realizing that even Hindus and others, they were already here. They were already here before, but they are now Pakistanis. That concept that being Pakistani doesn't depend on on your religion. It depends on who you are, where you are, and how you relate with your fellow countrymen.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, sir, for categorically and comprehensively responding to the question of the challenges related to Christian communities facing in Pakistan. My next question would be the leadership. I mean, talking about leadership, uh, there are some Christians who have been, exponentially emerged as leaders. Take the examples of Mr. Anthony Naveed, who is now the Deputy Speaker of Sindh Assembly. There is another CSB officer, Ms. Maria Shamon, who is the commissioner serving as the position of commissioner in Quetta as well. So my next question is about leadership. As I said, how has your role as Metropolitan Archbishop uh, Emeritus influenced your perspective on the intersection of faith and social justice? What have been some of the key moments or experiences in your leadership that have shaped your approach?
Well, when you say leadership, you can't just compare the leadership of a bishop with that of, let's say, any other political leader or a leader in society. And as you pointed out, rather, I would put it the other way around. There are outstanding Christians who form part of the leadership in the country. We have a number of members of parliament from different political parties. They're Christians. They could belong to the People's Party, or belong to the Marshari Party, or any other party. So if you're talking about leadership, then that's where we do have a very small number. You mentioned two, but we're not strong enough to really influence or try to bring about the kind of change we would like to see. It's a continual struggle. It's a continual struggle. And as a church, we don't have that of sort of direct influence in society. I think the general perception of the majority community is, oh, you're a minority community, now don't make a noise. You be good and stay silent and obey the laws of the land.
Absolutely, sir. So moving on to our next question, you basically synchronize the question related to leadership. Talking about future perspectives or youth and generation in your community, how does church engage with younger generations to promote value of interfaith harmony? Since you be the champion and social justice, what are some of the ways you see young Christians contributing to these goals?
Well, I wouldn't have any clear answer to that, because the whole problem is the young generation. How much are we in touch with them? Because our role is basically religious, holding religious services regularly, not only on Sundays, other days. It's more moral and spiritual. I think we have not been able, and we still are not able to train our youth, not only youth, but the community as such, to go into the political field. I think we do have a minority complex living in such a large majority. And we have to grow out of that. Part of it is education. But with such a high percentage of illiteracy in the country, that also remains. People very often, when time comes for voting, they would ask us, who should we vote for? And we have to try to push and get it back to them and say, no, you choose, you form your opinions about what kind of leader you want or which leader you want to vote for. See? So they still look to us for leadership, which really we shouldn't be able to tell them which party to join or not to join. That we leave them free. That is our policy. We'll never tell somebody vote for this party or that party. Local leaders are emerging, like you mentioned, just one or two. And there are more like this. And there are Christians in all the parties, nearly all the parties. You will find Christians. And these are the ones really who we have to build up. It takes time. It will take time.
Absolutely. It will take time. It's a process. Political
Yes.
participation and political awareness is a huge process. So my last question of the day would be, looking ahead, what do you believe are the most critical areas where Christian or the church should focus its efforts to support minorities and promote peace in South Asia? How can the global church of international community assist in these endeavors?
Now, if you talk about globally, I want to bring in the role of Pope. The current Pope is Pope Francis. Now, one of the big issues facing everybody, Pope Francis likes to use that expression. He said, it's our world. It's one world and it is our world. And in the encyclical letters, the letters that a Pope writes, normally years ago, it would be only talking to the Christian community. What is their duty, what they should do, the moral aspect, the spiritual aspect. But now the Catholic Church has become so open to the whole world, what is happening in the world around us. And you will see Pope Francis, he wrote a famous encyclical, we call it an encyclical letter, and he didn't address it to the Christians. He addressed it to all the people of goodwill living on this planet. And this is our common home. And it was all about what is now currently we all talk about is the environment, climate change, etc. That the whole world is in danger. We have been misusing the gift that God has given us, His creation, to look after it in a proper way and to benefit from it because of technology and greed and so many other problems. And Pope Francis has been very vocal in this. And we too, in Pakistan, this is where is a very nice area to create harmony and put forward such issues, which are common issues. This got nothing to do with religion. Saving our planet. Simple things like we have the church's wing for social work is called Caritas. Caritas is a Latin word. It simply means, from there you get the English word charity. It means love, caring for others, Caritas. And now when I was the national director of Caritas until a few years ago, we were just saying, let's take a simple thing for the simple village people, plant trees. That's the least you can do to improve the environment and to prevent the destruction of just chopping down trees for firewood and other methods of how to conserve specially designed fireplace, chula as we call it in local language, for cooking the food. You shape it better and you don't have to cut down so many trees to get the same effect to cook your food, etc. These are simple things. We have been involved in this. And that time we launched a campaign saying 1 million trees. That means the whole country. It's not much when you see the size of the country. For 3 years, we were successful in that. And then I said, let's carry it on. We called it 1 million more. But again, this is quite a struggle when the people who are not educated have to be made aware of how important forest cover is for any country, etc., etc. I don't want to go into this whole field of the environment, although I enjoy it myself and I try to encourage others. But I think this is one field where we have to put our religious differences aside and work for the common good, regardless of our religion. When you put that before us, then you see we all become human beings, having common problems in the whole world, not only in our country. And the Catholic Church, through Pope Francis, he's now going to visit. He has started his visit in early September. He's going to Singapore. He's going to the Far East. He was in Bangladesh the last time, choosing the smaller countries. He uses the word, the marginalized people should also be part of the whole global attempt to save ourselves, save the environment. So that's the global reach that the Catholic Church as a whole has. And we on a local level, as much as we can do, we are trying to do it. And we wish everybody would join.
Absolutely. I mean, talking about common goals, we just had organized a webinar that was debated on the role of interreligious harmony in fighting to combat religious based violence against the communities of Christians, Muslims, Dalits in entire South Asia. And that was the gist of the conference the webinar was the commonality. We have to stand up for our common goals. And you've rightly put it away that if we fight for our common goals, then we start serving the humanity. And talk about humanity, Christians are serving humanity in every corner or in every field. You've just indicated the education is major part. Health sector, social work is a huge task that Christians have been doing for the past centuries and the past, especially after the the inception of Pakistan because of the colonial rule that we had. And you also talked about the importance of interfaith harmony in standing up and living up together. You have given us a hope as we if we work together in unison, if we on common goals, we can do this world a lot of good. You've talked about the issues of climate change, which is our world facing today. We are our glaciers are melting, our forests are being depleting. Our flora and fauna of this entire region has been devastated or being diminished. And in a certain way that we are facing uncertain or unscheduled rains, floods, and other natural catastrophes. So, on this very note, I would like to thank you for your time and honoring us for this podcast. And you've been instrumental, and you will remain instrumental for your entire community and for your other uh, brothers as well, Muslims, Hindus, and other religious groups in Pakistan and wherever you go. Thank you so much, Cardinal Joseph Coutts, for sending a strong message and for your time.